This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated with another true crime of insurance fraud video. This one, number 70, The Golden Taxi. Mischa came to Houston in 1990 directly from the old Soviet Union. His dream was to be a cowboy. He became a cab driver. Mischa picked up the English language quickly and memorized the convoluted streets of Houston. Within a year of his arrival, he could find with ease any hotel, restaurant, or bar in the overgrown small town that was Houston, Texas. He even picked up Texas talking points and would refer to all of his customers as y'all, unless there was more than one, and then it'd be all y'all. Mischa made a reasonable living driving a cab, making the 45-minute run in from the airport at least 3 times a day. He bought a small 3-bedroom house outside Houston and was building his way toward the American dream. Mischa was not a criminal. He drove his cab 12 hours a day, 6 days a week to support himself and his young Texas wife. Mischa's life changed when the dispatcher called him to the home of Sophie Mendelson. Sophie, an 80-year-old Medicare patient, needed a ride to her doctor's office 4 miles from her home. Upon arrival at the doctor's office, Sophie gave Mischa the information necessary to bill Medicare direct for his services. He complied and within weeks received a check from the U.S. Treasury. It seemed all that Medicare required before it sent a check was information concerning the patient, a Medicare number, and whatever he wanted for the miles driven. Mischa satisfied Medicare if the fare reasonably related to the amount of miles he claimed. Mischa was an intelligent man. He grew up in the Soviet Union, so he had no respect for government. In fact, as a child and as an adult living in the Soviet Union, he learned that the only way to survive was to deceive the ever-present government. He was surprised to learn how unlike the Soviet government was the U.S. government. Rather than expecting deceit from its citizens, the U.S. government seemed to believe everything told to it by its residents. The ride he gave Sophie Mendelson gave Mischa a plan to obtain a future fortune. Mischa advised his dispatcher that he would volunteer to take all the Medicare, Medicaid, and welfare patient rides called into his cab company. Since the other drivers did not like to wait for the payments from the government, Mischa received all of the calls. Within a month, he had created a ledger containing 100 names, addresses, and Medicare numbers. With a calculator, a tax rate table, and a pad of receipts, Mischa started on his journey to earn his first $1 million. He created receipts for 5 doctor visits for every one he actually drove. Mischa extended the distance to each doctor by a factor of 3. In his first year, he collected more than $1 million from the United States state and county governments. The next year, his collections, since his number of welfare and Medicaid and Medicare recipients had increased in his ledger, had gone to $2 million. Mischa sold his 3-bedroom house and bought a 500-acre ranch with a 4,000-square-foot 6-bedroom ranch house and stables outside of Houston. He began to live his dream of being a cowboy. Mischa bought 500 head of longhorn steers and 3/4 horses. Mischa, the Russian cowboy, continued his profitable taxi business for 3 more years. An auditor for the state of Texas Department of Social Services first noticed that Mischa's cab company had taken a client to the doctor who had died a month before the trip. The auditor then found each receipt submitted by Mischa to the state of Texas and Harris County. When he was done, the auditor found that in 1994, if the records were accurate, Mischa had driven the 1992 Chevrolet Caprice taxicab a total of 1,250,000 miles. The auditor concluded Mischa needed to drive more than 3,000 miles a day, 16 hours a day, 365 days a year at more than 200 miles an hour to justify his claims. Belatedly, the government caught on to Mischa's fraud. The Texas Attorney General arrested, tried, and convicted Mischa of defrauding the state of Texas in Harris County, Texas. The judge ordered that he pay a fine of $50,000 and serve 90 days in jail. But because he was a first offender, Mischa was placed on probation for 5 years and the jail sentence was suspended. Mischa continues to live his dream as a cowboy, breeding Texas Longhorn cattle on his ranch outside Houston. The United States government, although advised of the crime by Harris County officials, refused to prosecute since the fraud would seriously embarrass the Medicare system. Everyone involved, especially Mischa, believed that justice had been served.